Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Bolt Action Reloading. In this week's episode, we're going to try and improve on the performance that we found with our 190 grain Sierra Match King 300 Win Mag Gold Medal Match ammunition by Federal. Stick around. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here and you'd like to see how I and the rest of the community here make our group smaller, start now by subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon. That way you get notified when I post next week's video and you won't miss anything. Welcome back, everyone. This is a bit of a follow-up video to our last video. I'll put a card up to the playlist for this video if you'd like to check that out. However, we're going to cover most of the information you're going to need from that video anyway. In our beginning efforts to actually try and clone this gold medal match ammunition, we've already tried H4350 and Alliant Reloder 23. In today's video, we're going to go over the Reloder 26, H1000, and Vihtavuori N560. All of the attributes for today's test will essentially be the same as our previous testing. As far as all the case, primer, and dimensional information, it will all be the same as last week's video. Now, in case you're not familiar with the gold medal match ammunition, it is a bit of a, pardon the pun, gold standard for some people's long-range shooting. Especially in .308 Winchester, at least people that I know swear by the gold medal match ammunition for their .308 Winchesters. Overall, the factory ammunition selection for this rifle hasn't been very good, at least what I've tested. This has actually given us our best group so far with factory ammunition, being a 1.2 MOA group. Certainly not spectacular, but we're going to see what we can do to improve on it. We're not going to limit ourselves to the overall length that it's actually packaged at. We are reloading. We might as well customize it for our rifle the best we can. We are hoping that Federal has done their homework on this and given us a very good place to start. Our box estimated velocity is 2,900 feet per second, but in our actual rifle, we've actually shot well above that. I'll put the statistics on the screen for what we have seen. Overall, single-digit standard deviations in factory ammunition have eluded us, except for this particular ammunition. Not that this is spectacular, but if it's as good as it gets, I guess we'll take it. Mostly, we're looking for a starting point. So getting right into the meat of our testing, our actual brass that we're using is Winchester Brass. Didn't really have any Federal brass available to buy to actually do for this clone project. So Winchester is what we're going to deal with today. This all has been once fired, annealed it, resized it, and even sacrificed one of our pieces of brass to our Aztec to make sure our annealing settings were correct for this lot of brass. I actually had all this brass primed already with our Winchester primers. Otherwise, we would have been using the Fed 215M primers that I'm sure our factory ammunition is primed with. We bumped our shoulder back about 3 thousandths to make sure we had good function, and we set our neck tension at 2 thousandths. Being factory ammunition, this is going to have to be held to SAMI specification, which we are not going to be restricting ourselves to today. I'll put the measurements on the screen of our actual factory ammunition, kind of where our starting point was from. We have found better accuracy moving this closer to the lands, so that is what we will be doing today. The CBTO we're loading today is 2.883 inches, giving us a cartridge overall length of 3.472 inches. The 3.472 inch Cole will fit in our factory magazine. We may do some tuning on that later, but at the very least, we do want to be able to magazine feed these in our rifle. The easiest part of this entire project is knowing what the projectile is. It is this part number 2210 from Sierra, the 190 grain hollow point boat tail. Since Federal puts it right in the box, it's really not too hard to pick. In last week's video, we'd covered H4350 and Reloder 23. So for today's video, the first powder we'll be going over is Vihtavuori's N560. I've heard good things about Vihtavuori powders, and I'm hoping it's going to give us some good performance today. Sierra's data from our app is what we're going on today. The actual max charge that it lists is 75.2 grains, which they're estimated at 2,970 feet per second. We're going to back that off for our 10 rounds. So we're actually going to be starting at 72.5 grains, increasing in 0.3 grain increments to hit that max 75.2 grains. Just so you guys are clear on the format, we're actually going to give the load details for every single powder. Go out to the range, check it out, give us the graph, and go and do the next powder. So if there's one of the ones you particularly want to see, I will try and put a timestamp in the comment section below and pin it to the top. So if you guys want to see one of the specific powders, you can jump right to that. So let's get out to the range and check out how N560 performs. So guys, welcome back. As far as groups go, nothing really to write home about. Our group size today was 1.829 MOA. Keep in mind, when we're shooting any of the velocity strings for this rifle, we really haven't seen any spectacular groups. This rifle does seem very prone to barrel whip. Putting down some small groups is going to require some tuning. But like I said, we're looking for a starting point today, so put our velocity chart on the screen. At 72.5 grains, our starting velocity was 2831 feet per second. At our max charge of 75.2 grains, you can see our velocity crept all the way up to 2945 feet per second, though our max cheat velocity was at the 74.9 grain at 2949 feet per second. Comparing to our load data from Sierra, we actually were slightly under the 2970 that they estimated today. Digging just a little bit deeper, I'll put a little quick load data on the screen. Again, for anyone that might be following along at home, our BA value that we're using is 3750 for this particular powder. Seeing the chart on the screen, our actual cheat velocity of 2831, quick load's estimate would have been 2836 at that BA value, and the 75.2 grain estimate would have been 2949 feet per second, comparative to our 2945 foot per second results. Looking at barrel times, you'll see that our barrel time for 72.5 grains was 1.301 milliseconds, creeping all the way down to 1.233 milliseconds for our max charge. If hitting a node is actually on our list of things to do, trying to hit our target of 1.2282 millisecond for our node 5 for a 24-inch barrel, looks like the best we're going to do would actually be a slightly higher charge, somewhere around 75.4 grains, at an estimated velocity of 2950 feet per second, according to quick load. Interesting data indeed. Looking at the pressures, you'll see at 72.5 grains, quick load estimates our pressure starting all the way down at 50,060 psi. At our max pressure tested today, 56,139 psi was all that quick load says that we hit. Since we're talking about pressure, let's put our brass on the screen. As we have been doing lately, our factory ammunition will be on the end for comparison. I have no indications why I would think that quick load was anywhere wrong. No markings on these cases whatsoever, nothing to indicate we're at an unsafe pressure whatsoever, and nothing that would keep me from testing that 75.4 grain charge, which, depending how wide that node is at the top, might be right where we'd like to load. 2950 feet per second is above the 2900 that our box velocity is, but with no pressure signs and hopes of accuracy, that might be exactly what we test. At least, this is one of the candidates that I'd certainly like to try. Again, if you have a counter opinion, I'd love to know in the comment section below. Anyway, moving down the line here, let's try Alliant Reloder 26 now. Same case dimensions as before that we talked about. So the same CBTO 2.883 inches, cartridge overall length of 3.472, same brass, same primer, just a different powder. So with Reloder 26, we're actually starting down at 73.4 grains and working up to 76.1 grains in 0.3 grain increments. 10 rounds is what we're going to use to generate our velocity curve today. So without further ado, let's get out to range and see how it does. Welcome back. Nothing really too exciting here. Obviously, 1.607 MOA, best group so far actually with our velocity tests. Not that I think the group size is actually going to be worth anything in particular today. As far as graphs are concerned, let's actually put our graph on the screen and we'll talk about it real quick. Starting off at 73.4 grains, 2836 feet per second is what we achieved. Sierra's data thought we were going to reach somewhere around 3,000 feet per second, and our actual achieved velocity was only 2948 feet per second. Comparative to our other charts, actually this one's very interesting, at least to me. Really doesn't have very many spikes going back and forth that we've seen in a lot of our other graphs. Doesn't seem to be any crazy performance issues with Reloder 26, and makes me more interested to try it even in the future. As we've been doing, we'll put our quick load information on the screen. Again, for any of those playing along, the Reloder 26 BA value we're using for this is 3457. which at 73.4 grains, quick load is estimating 2839 feet per second, and at 76.1 grains, 2942 feet per second is what the calculation would have given us. So a reasonable fit to our performance today. All of the numbers for all the velocities will actually be on there, along with our barrel times. Our barrel time at 73.4 was 1.333 milliseconds, only speeding up to 1.262 milliseconds at that 2948 feet per second mark. Looking at quick load's pressures that we estimated, starting down at 73.4 grains, 48,607 psi was what we theoretically had, and at quick load estimates 54,863 feet per second at that max charge of 76.1. At 76.1, we only had a fill rate of 92%, so certainly plenty of case volume left to increase our velocity, as well as pressure headroom to go up a little higher. Talking about nodes we covered today, our 1.3084 millisecond would have been very close to our 74.3 grain load, and according to our data is honestly right in the middle of a very nice velocity node. Having those things line up, even though that is roughly 40 feet per second lower than our target velocity for our testing, might be a very interesting place to test. I don't have the numbers right in front of me. I'll put them on the screen and do the calculation. To get down to that 1.2282 millisecond for our node 5 number, really not sure we're going to be within safe pressures, and I know we're going to be at a significant velocity well above 2,900 feet per second. But who knows, if that ends up being somewhere close, maybe we'll test that out as well. Talking about pressure, we'll put the brass on the screen real quick. You guys can make your own decisions what you feel like. Always have that factory reference case at the end just in case you're interested. But personally, nothing here that looks out of the ordinary to me. Since this has certainly been the best graph that we've generated, as well as our smallest group, Reloder 26 will certainly be on my list of powders to test when we load this the next time. Last but not least, let's try out Hodgdon's H1000. Covering its load data real quick. Again, same exact brass, same primer, same all the rest of the details, except for our charge weights, of course. Sierra is a source of our data today. We'll be starting at 76.3 grains of Hodgdon's H1000, going up in 0.3 grain increments all the way to an even 79 grains. Sierra is estimating 2940 feet per second, so we should have no problem hitting our 2900 feet per second goal. So without further ado, let's go see how this shoots, then we'll come back. Well, welcome back. Certainly, as far as group is concerned, not too interesting today. 2.635 MOA was what our group size was today. But again, velocity string and then finding a place to load is really what we were looking mostly for. Start off our velocity chart as usual. 76.3 grains is going to yield 2882 feet per second. At 79 grains even, 2986 feet per second was the actual velocity that we achieved. Though oddly enough, 78.4 grains is actually where we achieved our max velocity of 3009 feet per second, which is almost 70 feet per second higher than Sierra thought we were going to get today. Adding quick load to the mix, we're going to be using a BA value of 3920 today. That's going to give us right at our 2882 feet per second estimate with quick load, and going all the way up at 79 grains to 2988 feet per second would have been our estimate. Our graph's a little bit all over the place, so that was just the best fit that I seemed to find. Talking about our barrel times, down at our 76.3 grain load, our barrel time was 1.243 milliseconds, going down to 1.176 milliseconds at our 79 grain charge. Our actual optimum barrel time for our 1.2282 millisecond for node 5 would be basically right at our 76.9 grain test, where quick load estimates we would achieve somewhere around 2906 feet per second. That is a little bit of a transition point right there. But 2892 feet per second is pretty darn close to our 2900 box estimate. Quick load's barrel time estimate is going to be giving us something very close to what we're looking for. The fill rate on that, just in case you're interested, would be right at 101.1% fill rate. So a very full case, slightly compressed, which honestly is where we found a lot of accuracy with some of our rifles before, and a safe pressure rating at 55,421 PSI. At our 79 grains, quick load actually estimated 60,914 PSI was where we maxed out today with pressure at 103.8% fill rate. So obviously we were well into our compressed range today. In other rifles, Hodgdon's H1000 has performed very well for us, and we certainly didn't want to try and ignore it today. Since we talked about the pressure for H1000, let's put the brass on the screen real quick. We can take a quick look, again, compared to the factory Remington ammunition that we shot to see where our factory pressure compares to what our reloads look like. I really don't see anything that worries me too much today. So let's talk about all of our powders that we've tested up to this point and see if we can pick a candidate for our next trial. Kind of go through our list. We'll bring H4350's chart back on the screen for a second. Our H4350 load, if we were trying to hit our max velocity, we'd have to be testing up at that basically 69 grain mark. We are in safe pressure range there. As far as barrel times are concerned, we're nowhere close to one of our nodes, and where we found the best group for this rifle has been on a barrel node. So I'm very reluctant to pick that as our best powder, at least for our first choice. Not saying we can't come back to that. I know if you love H4350, you'd hate to kick it out right out of the gate, but let's look at our other data before we make any drastic choices. So moving on from H4350, we're going to go back to Reloader 23. If our quick load pressures were right, actually starting at 70,000 PSI, well over pressure here. Not that we saw any signs on our brass, but if we actually wanted to go back to our target velocity of 2,900 feet per second, we're going to be backing down below what we actually tested at. And if we're looking for a barrel node, we're going to actually be backing down all the way to 2,865 feet per second. Not that I just want to throw Reloader 23 under the bus right out of the gate, but if any of you guys can help me with that quick load information, I'm very interested to know. But we've got plenty of other powders here that are showing not overpressure with quick load. And frankly, there was nothing with the Reloader 23 that made me think, oh my gosh, I have to test this. But if you disagree, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below. Now looking at the rest of the three powders we've actually talked about today, all of them bring a little bit of something to the table. Starting off with N560, turns out our barrel node would actually be 75.4 grains in there, right above where we tested, which was very close to a velocity node there. So being able to actually hit that 2,950 feet per second mark, being right on there, and it seems to be on a velocity node, gives me lots of hope that there would be accuracy to be found. We're certainly going to be meeting all of the requirements for meeting the box velocity. And as far as pressure is concerned, quick load estimating our top charge tested only being at 56,000 PSI. We're well under what our cartridge can handle. Should give us good velocity, excellent brass life, and those are all good things, certainly in my book. Moving right along to Reloader 26, though the velocities we achieved with the Reloader 26 were a little bit lower than we thought they would be according to our load data, I'm actually very encouraged by this chart. Most of our other charts, you can see spikes going up and down, showing inconsistent velocities. But with a Reloader 26, with a 0.3 grain increments between charges, we saw slight increases, which to me means we should be able to find good, clean velocity nodes. Looking for a 1.308 millisecond barrel node does put us slightly below where our actual velocity we'd like to achieve is. Quick loads estimate for a 1.308 millisecond barrel time, we would be just over 2,870 feet per second. So we're actually very close to that estimated velocity, even though our chart doesn't indicate that. We would have to do some testing around there. But that would give us a good starting point, and I know that 2,880 feet per second has actually been a velocity where this rifle likes to continue to shoot. As far as graphs are concerned, Reloader 26 is certainly one of the best that we've seen. Even if we were loading right down at the 74.3 grain load and we're 40 feet per second lower, if we got a good group there, I would still call that a win, even though it might not meet our actual desired velocity. Certainly pressure won't be a concern. Well below max pressure for this cartridge today. And unless we want to try and push it over 3,000 feet per second, we're just not going to hit that next barrel node. Now, last but not least, Hodgdon's H1000. I almost don't know where to start. It's certainly down at that lower part of the graph. We're actually seeing some very consistent velocity. Again, around that 2,880 mark, we've seen is where this rifle seems to shoot with a lot of different powders. Hodgdon H1000 is no different today. At 76.9 grains, quick load's estimate was 2,906 feet per second. We're slightly below that at 2,890. But again, our actual velocity we achieved with this ammunition was in the 2920s. And if we're a little bit below that, that's certainly good enough for me, especially if we're right on an OBT node, and that actually makes this rifle perform. Performance is key. Nobody cares what the math says if it's not working. As far as powders to choose, I don't think we can ignore Hodgdon's H1000, giving us a slightly compressed load, 101% fill rate, a safe pressure of 55,421 psi, right on our estimated velocity of what we're trying to achieve. I'm not sure all of the stars have lined up perfectly there, but it's certainly very close. Out of all 3 powders we tested today, I can think of multiple reasons why we should try each one of these. So if I can figure out how to do the voting buttons, I'll actually put the voting up here. Between these 3 powders, I'd like to know which one you guys are interested in testing first. So if you guys want, you can click the button and vote for which powder you think we should test next, H1000, N560, or Reloder 26. If I can put a 4th option on there, you guys can select Reloder 23 or H4350 just to be obtuse. However, one of those 3 is going to be the next test that we probably try in our rifle. Fair warning. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this series and continue to do so. If you have any questions or feedback, please put those in the comment section below. But even if you're not interested in 300 Winchester Magnum, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions or feedback, please put that in the comment section below. If you're not subscribed to the channel yet, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so you get notified when I post next week's video. I hope to see you back next week. And until then, stay safe in small groups.